We didn't have.
Welcome back. John Parker is with us today, the board president of GRF. Yesterday, they had their regular meeting, and first I got to apologize to everyone. We had an audio issue, this kind of transformation to HD and all. We finally got it going, so I apologize to everyone, and especially to you and your board. So hopefully we got that solved.
Well, what was interesting about our meeting yesterday is it was a record. Because
it was a short meeting.
We started at 9:30 on the dot, and we were finished at 5 minutes to 12.
Yeah.
And that's never happened as long as I've been on GRF.
Yeah.
And we did not have, in member comments, we did not have our usual Greek chorus.
You're absolutely right, yeah.
We actually had, I think, 4 speakers, and all of them said very nice things. So that was refreshing.
Yeah, yeah, it was very good.
And we actually got to have a hot lunch instead of one that had been sitting for 2 hours.
Yeah, there you go.
So
there was a few resolutions that were looked at, right?
Yes, and I'd like to mention those. And we've kind of reorganized our meeting so that we deal with the resolutions first rather than wait until they're in a committee.
Right.
Because those are the things that sometimes people are most interested in, so it gets it to the front of the meeting.
Yeah, and I noticed that on the agenda, because I was kind of looking ahead of the agenda so I could make my notes and all, and I was looking ahead going, well, there's no resolutions for these specific, under those agenda items, so yeah.
And the actually, this was a suggestion of Catherine Freshley, and everybody thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
One of the things also that's in the pipeline, on the 31st of this month, the GRF board, and we're going to be working with a facilitator, we're going to have an all-day where we're going to try and set our goals and priorities for the coming year. We've never had that luxury. Essentially, I always compare it to the Chinese Acrobat Act, where they spin the plates and you just run to the one that's ready to fall.
Right.
So hopefully this year will be more predictable.
Okay, very good.
And in conjunction with that, one of the things that we're looking at is a lot of our committee meetings, we were looking at, do they have to meet once a month? And one of our goals is to reduce the amount of staff time that is spent in meetings so that they can actually spend their time implementing things rather than sitting in a meeting. So we'll see how that works.
All right, and I do know that when it comes to the Finance Committee meeting, because we had Diane Phelps on last week or so, that their next meeting isn't scheduled to February, so they're skipping January, although she said they'll still meet if need be. And
well, that's true of any of the committees.
Yeah.
So back to the resolutions. The Media and Communication Committee passed their new charter, and there was a fair amount of time has been spent on this resolution by Joanne De Lorenzo and by Joan Millman. And so that kind of really defines the parameters of the Media and Communication Committee. And that's been a committee that has been joined together, separated, and so on. So it was a good project. And then one of the other things, the next resolution that we dealt with was the garden center fees. And I feel kind of responsible for this because our fees in the garden center were $47 for a standard garden plot of 200 square feet, and $8 for bench space in the shade house, and $29 for a tree plot. And so I said, why don't we just round this off? Why can't it be $50 and $10 and $30? Well, so Kurt and the landscape staff figured out what the percentage would have to be to get to those round numbers. And so that'll last a year.
So they actually have to look at the percentages.
It's this elaborate formula.
Oh, it's not just, okay, this is the fee now.
No. So, and then each year, depending on budget and cost and labor cost and everything else, there's no way that it's going to stay at that.
I
So-
get that.
So they kind of humored me for the year.
All right.
So,
You know, something along with that that you mentioned yesterday, and I think it warrants you mentioning again, about garden plots that are becoming available. And you mentioned that, I don't know if it was the garden club or whatever it might be, we're putting in, you know, every club can put in their little blog into the Globe every week. So kind of explain that.
well, the Garden Center group has had an announcement in the Globe the last 3 weeks encouraging people to go to the Garden Center or to phone into the Garden Center and request a garden plot. And the implication in the announcement is that there's going to be lots of garden plots available. And that's simply not true. And so we're doing everything we can to create new plots and to have people who are literally paying the lease and not using the plot, not allowing those people to renew.
Right.
We're also, you know, we are grandfathering 400 square feet, but we have 26 people that have more than 400 square
Okay.
feet, including the new president of the Garden Center group.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that we're trying to do to create new plots. Now, if the Garden Center group, in a great humanitarian community gift, decides that the people who have 400 square feet will have 200 square feet, we'd have a lot of plots.
Okay.
So, but the fact is that a phone call is not going to get you a garden plot.
Okay.
There's a rather lengthy waiting list, and we're working on it. I'm somewhat frustrated by the speed of how things are happening, but anybody who hasn't been to the garden plots or the garden centers in a while will see that improvements are being made and are under process and will continue.
Okay.
But and thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
So the lease fees for the coming year will be $50 for a garden plot, and if you have a double plot, that means $100. The bench space will be $10, and a tree plot will be $30.
Okay.
So, for the year.
All right. Very good.
And then one of our other resolutions was we are creating a bicycle patrol.
Yes.
And this was something that Chief Moy initiated, and we're starting out with 2 bicycles. So the resolution was to appropriate the funds, and the rationale behind it is that bicycles can go more easily in many areas, and particularly in United, if you think of the creek.
Right.
And as Juanita Skillman mentioned, there are a lot of the cul-de-sacs where, you know, getting back behind the carports and things, a bicycle can do it a lot faster than, you know, an officer has to get out of a car or whatever. And the other thing that I think Chief Moy is that a person on a bicycle is far more approachable in terms of PR, you know, talking to residents, et cetera. And there are some people, particularly some people in Third Mutual, who felt that it should be golf carts. And my feeling is that the fact that we have people on bicycles doesn't preclude that we can't have people on golf carts.
Right. Exactly.
And I think my feeling is give Chief Moy some time, and he'll do it.
Right.
He'll do what he thinks is the best thing to serve the community. And we're starting out with 2, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Do you know at this point how they're going to be chosen? Are you going to have people who apply from the current staff, or?
Well, my guess is that, you know, somebody who has the inclination will probably be the.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people who are on, I think there's a bike club here, probably very fit for that. And
well, we already,
enjoy
I mean,
doing that.
it will be people on the existing security.
Okay.
I don't think, you know, this is not, it's using bicycles instead of a vehicle.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah, they're physically able. I think it's great. I think
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
So that's a new wrinkle. And then we have an additional occupant fee, and this is not anything new. And we did create a resolution, but there's no change in the resolution. All the resolution is doing is updating an existing policy, and there's no change in the fee. And the fee is, I believe, $49 per manor per month for each additional occupant.
Okay.
Because when you get into Third Mutual, you have 3-bedroom units. On United, I don't believe there's anything beyond 2 bedrooms. So that was just kind of a bookkeeping thing that Betty Parker suggested we do.
Okay.
What else have we got? Have that. Oh, the billiard rooms.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And we have a very high demand for meeting rooms. And so in looking at existing facilities, they started looking at room utilization of billiard rooms. And there is a billiard room in Clubhouse 5, and there is a billiard room in Clubhouse 6. And if you add the two of them together, the usage is about 4 individuals per week.
Oh, really?
For both. So the idea is that we will remove, in fact, the authorization was granted yesterday, that we will remove the billiard tables from Clubhouse 5 and Clubhouse 6 and convert those 2 rooms to meeting rooms.
Okay.
And what happens in Third Mutual is you have a majority of the 3-story buildings that have a rec room.
That's right.
And I learned yesterday that every single one of those has a billiard table.
Oh, okay.
See, I thought some of them did and some of them didn't, depending on the wants and needs of the residents of that building. But Burt Moldow said every single one of them has a billiard table. Because my idea was whatever billiard table was in 5 and 6, we would make those available.
Right.
And we may still do that. Maybe they want 2 billiard tables.
Okay.
I don't know. But that's one of the reasons, I think, for the low usage at 5 and 6 is because there's
They
so
have
many
other
of
things
those.
available. Okay.
And the highest use of the billiard room is at Clubhouse 1. Second highest is at Clubhouse 3. And we are under contract with an architectural firm to look at Clubhouse 3 in totality. But in the meantime, nothing's going to happen for a year or more.
Right.
So, we're going to continue to track usage in 1 and 3 and look at the facilities in terms of lighting and all the things so that it's a quality facility.
Right.
And so that's where we are on that.
Okay. Very good.
One other thing that came up, Diane Phelps mentioned that there's a need for card rooms. And did we want to make either 5 or 6 those rooms card rooms? And my feeling was there's more of a need for meeting rooms, but 6 has a big lobby, and 6 also has kind of a lounge area.
Yes. Right.
And so I think we can look at putting some card tables in there to accommodate card players. And we now have, and I don't know whether you've seen it yet, a lounge at the Par 3 course.
Oh, no, I didn't. I heard about it. I didn't know it was open.
That opened the Friday before Christmas.
Okay.
And it's nice. I mean, it was done with minimal amount of money. It used to be the shed where they kept the lawnmowers. So what used to be garage doors are now sliding glass doors.
Oh, nice.
But there's comfortable furniture. There's a microwave, a sink, and a TV. And it looks like we have enough room to put a couple of card tables in there as well.
Very good.
That's
all right. One more thing, and we discussed it right beforehand, but it was discussed at the meeting yesterday about grants. And primarily as it related at the meeting yesterday about the solar grants and things like that. And there was some discussion about grants can be really good, but a lot of times you're locked into certain parameters that may not be the best fit. So you really got to look at it from all angles.
Well, I think, when you hear about a grant, sometimes they just sound, oh, isn't this wonderful? It practically pays for itself. But grants are competitive. Who are you competing against for whatever pot of money? Most of them include some very stringent timelines. The particular grant that was being discussed yesterday, we will actually have to find an outside grant writer. And I believe everything has to be in and done, signed, sealed, and delivered by January 20th.
Yeah, that's a short amount of time.
And this just popped up on the radar either a couple of days before Christmas, or, a couple of days, no, or the week between Christmas and New Year's. So, and then I worked in the educational world, and, education uses a lot of grants. And Brad mentioned, in city government and county government, they rely a lot on grants. But with those grants, there's usually an administrative factor, so that you have to report on progress and how you're using the money and all these various things. And if you start getting a lot of grants, you almost have to then have an employee or more to just administrate the grants. So what appears to be a good deal may not always be a good deal. Plus, this community, we are barely in a year of transition, and we have so many things on our plate. Is this the best use of our staff time right now?
Right.
There'll always be a grant for something.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm less inclined to jump.
Right.
I tend to be a little more realistic about the implications of some of these things and where does it fit into the big picture in terms of our priorities. And one of our priorities is how we use our staff so that they can be productive and do the things that we want them to do.
Right. All right, very good. Yeah, as you mentioned, sometimes a lot of these other entities, they have a full-time grant writer and or a whole little department that does that.
And we may have that someday.
Yeah, exactly. All right, very good. Always good to see you.
Thank you,
You
Ken.
take care. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
And we'll be right back.